Poe, La nocchiera del tempo, from the series Guerre Multiverso by Licia Troisi. So I listened to this as an audiobook, all 13 plus hours of it. How did that go? For those who haven't watched my previous video, where I listened to a book from Le Cronache del Mondo Emerso by Licia Troisi, which I had read some years earlier, I said there that I was going to try to listen to one I hadn't read, because I was tuned into the voice and the style of writing. That was this one. This book is science fiction about a young woman who travels between universes as her job. More on that later. I listened to the first 3 chapters at 0.8 times speed. I did speed up to 0.9 times not long after. However, I wasn't sure I'd got everything. This is a complicated universe, and I really wasn't confident I'd caught everything I needed to understand it. So I did something I hadn't been intending to. I downloaded the sample of the book off of Amazon. The sample went to part way, I assume, through chapter 4, which was extremely convenient. So I read the prologue and those first 3 chapters, which I had already listened to. The prologue I'd pretty much got, but I hadn't really understood the uccelli reference properly. Yes, it's written with the capital letter. After studying the book image, I had an idea, and this was confirmed. I'm pretty sure that must have been in the prologue somewhere, but I missed it. It's very easy to miss things with audiobooks if your mind just wanders for a few seconds. Anyway, those first few chapters. I'd missed a fair bit of the detail that was important to understand the premise. I had some very broad strokes ideas, but some of the details in the sample helped flesh them out. I'd also understood Poe's profession and her relationship with her boss. No, not that kind of relationship. But, and this is a big but, with one T, there is something I probably wouldn't ever have noticed with the audiobook that I think was quite important. Have you ever heard of the schwa in relation to Italian? I had, but had never seen it. Or I should probably say noticed it before, because who knows, I might have seen it and not realised it. The schwa is an upside down E, like this. And as I understand it, it is not officially recognised as part of modern Italian, but some people, mainly younger people I believe, use it to indicate that a person is, I think the correct term would be non-binary, but it could be broader than that. I realised what it was because after reading through the description of the boss, that they didn't have the concept of male and female in their species, it clicked. And I was straight onto the internet to search for what the symbol was, and that this was it. Honestly, to start with, I just thought it was a blip on my Kindle screen. That happens. You pronounce it as So if you were describing someone as very beautiful, you'd say bellissima. Yeah. To an English person, that probably sounds quite subtle. I don't think it is, though. And of course, it's only an agreement on things relating to that person, so it doesn't come up that often, even when that person's on the page. For this reason alone, I'm really glad I read this portion of the book, just to see it in actual use. Anyway, back to the audio, which was still more than 12 hours of listening. Poe is a nocchiera del tempo. That means she can travel through pozzi with little damage to her person. Those are portals between worlds. Everyone has some damage, but it might be as little as greying hair. Death is also possible. Because of this, she becomes a cacciatrice, literally a hunter. She is tasked with getting items from other worlds, generally stealing the items as far as I could tell, but sometimes doing things like getting a cure for some disease. Don't worry, I've missed out a lot of detail here about how she became a nocchiera cacciatrice. We follow her story as she is tasked with retrieving one item, which turns out to be something morally dubious. That's not really a strong enough word, but you get the idea. She is set up to work with a partner on this mission, which she is not happy with. Both her home world and this world she goes to seem somewhat dystopian in nature, so definitely sci-fi, but there are some elements I would say lean more towards fantasy. So one of the more difficult things with regards to understanding this story was the fact that you randomly get flashback chapters along the way, and these frequently took me quite a while to realise that's what they were. I got quite confused a couple of times. Would this have been more obvious on the page? Probably. I also missed quite a few relevant details and had to readjust my knowledge when something was said later on. This was more than just not understanding a few words here and there. Probably some of that mind wandering I mentioned earlier. However, I did understand a huge amount of what was going on, and for such a complex and long story, I'm satisfied that I understood enough. Would I listen to the next one in the series? I can't because it's not on Spotify. I don't think so. I think I'd prefer to read it so that I can get more of what's going on. Was this a good exercise? Yes, definitely. And I now need to decide what I'm going to listen to next. Here's a short review in Italian. Questo romanzo, Po, la nocchiera del tempo, le guerre multiverso di Licia Troisi, è un libro fantascienza. Segue la vita di Po. Po viene dalla Terra in un tempo nel futuro, un mondo un po' distopico. Lei è uno degli uccelli, persone che vivono più vicino al cielo e usano ali per andare in giro nella città. La città di Paradise. Nome imperfetto. Lei ha fatto qualcosa sfortunato e deve essere punita. Deve attraversare il pozzo. Il pozzo è un portale. Ma Po è una nocchiera. Questo significa che può viaggiare attraverso i pozzi con il minimo danno, che non è normale, e diventa una cacciatrice di cose dagli altri mondi. Questa storia segue una missione sul mondo di meccanica, dove deve trovare un dispositivo, ma questo dispositivo potrebbe cambiare tutto. Niente più di spoilers. Questo romanzo è abbastanza difficile da ascoltare come audiolibro, a causa delle cose che si trovano in un romanzo di fantascienza. Voglio dire, ci sono parole e nomi, eccetera, che non sono il vocabolario normale che tutti noi impariamo. Credo che sia meglio per la maggioranza di leggerlo invece di ascoltarlo, o possibilmente fare le due cose allo stesso tempo. Link to the audiobook on Spotify is in the description.